We're going deep on Larry Bird. Like, before the Celtics, before the Legends, even before Indiana State. We're talking high school years in French Lick, Indiana.
And that's the thing, right? We get caught up in the championships, the NBA stardom, but if these early years, the foundation that really gets me going, this is where it all began.
French Lick, Indiana. Not exactly a breeding ground for basketball superstars.
Right.
More like grand old resorts bumping up against tough economic times.
This is Larry Bird, one of 6 kids, a family struggling with poverty, a father battling PTSD from the Korean War. Talk about a far cry from privilege.
And this is crucial to understanding his story right. This wasn't some kid with every advantage handed to him.
No, this was grit. This was fight. This was earning every inch on the court, every opportunity.
You know, one detail that really jumped out at me from these early sources, Larry's older brother, Mark, gets a basketball scholarship to Oakland City College.
Yeah, Oakland City.
Right, not exactly a household name, but for Larry.
It was a glimpse of a different future, man. Proof that basketball could be a way out, a path to something better.
That brotherly inspiration, it's huge.
Absolutely.
So we start digging into these early days on the court, right? And we're talking like freshman year, a free throw trophy. Sophomore year, nails 2 clutch free throws to win the sectional tournament.
The raw talent was always there, but you could almost pinpoint that moment when something shifted. Like, he tasted success and it lit a fire.
And that's where you really start to see that legendary work ethic emerge. The hours on the court, the relentless drive to improve.
He was hooked there.
Now, junior year, things get really interesting.
There.
He's still playing in the shadow of Steve Land, you know, a 6'5" senior who would go on to play for Indiana University.
I know, so the pressure was on.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. Instead of letting it get to him, Larry used it as fuel. This is where he starts to hone that unique skill set.
He knew Land was the guilty scorer, so he adapted right. Focused on mastering the all-around game. Became obsessed with the art of the assist.
There's even a quote in here somewhere where he talks about loving to see the gleam in their eyes when his teammates would score off his passes.
See, even then, a true playmaker in the making.
And this is where this local sports writer comes in, Jerry Burge from the Jasper Herald. Now, remember that name because he becomes a big part of the story.
Burge is interesting because he's one of the first guys to see the magic brewing in Wyoming.
Even when he's averaging a modest 13 points a game early in the season.
Burge saw beyond the stats. He recognized the makings of a complete player, the scoring, the rebounding, the defense, the passing, and he started writing about it.
And then there's this pivotal game against Jasper Powerhouse team, right? Halftime rolls around, and Coach Jones pulls Larry aside and basically says, look, if you don't start shooting, you're hurting the team. Talk about a turning point.
And Larry being Larry, he responds. His scoring average jumps to 16 points a game, on top of an almost unbelievable 10 assists.
This is when people really start to take notice.
Oh, yeah. The legend of Larry Bird is starting to take shape.
But get this. Even after that incredible season, his future senior year coach, Gary Holland, he remembers thinking, Larry was a good player, but not a great one.
It's crazy, right? Even those closest to him couldn't have predicted the explosion that was about to happen. This was just the calm before the storm. Senior year hit, sort of like, boo, this is it, right? 4 inches taller over the summer. Now he's a legit 6'7".
Living in the weight room, putting on muscle.
Oh, yeah. The transformation is incredible.
When the stats start to reflect that.
Oh, yeah.
27 points, 21 rebounds.
Breaking records left and right.
Going head to head with other guys who'd go on to be college stars.
It's easy to forget, though. This is small-town Indiana basketball.
Right.
No ESPN, no nothing. Just packed gyms and these incredible stories coming out in the local papers.
And Jerry Burge, our man from the Jasper Herald, he is right there front and center for it all. He becomes Larry's biggest champion in a way.
Burge, you know, he really understood what he was seeing.
He's got a line in one of these articles about Larry leaving the Nets limp after dropping 42 points in a game. Then follows it up with, 55 the very next game.
55. Unbelievable. I mean, the guy was unstoppable.
And the buzz starts to get really loud at this point.
Well, yeah, word gets around. College scouts, coaches, they're all hearing the name Larry Bird.
Even Bob Knight, the legend himself, shows up at a game.
Bob Knight. All right, now you know it's serious.
When Bob Knight's in the stands, you know you've got something special.
Absolutely.
And this all builds up to this legendary matchup. Springs Valley versus Loogootee, January 29th, 1974.
Loogootee, undefeated, coached by the one and only Jack Butcher.
The gym was packed. I mean, standing room only.
Everyone wanted to see this matchup.
Larry versus star player Bill Butcher.
The atmosphere was electric.
Even the opposing coach, years later, he remembers Larry's unique skill set. Said, He plays more like a guard. He can shoot from the bleachers.
It was a classic. Back and forth the entire game.
Larry finishes with 39. Bill Butcher, 41.
Down to the wire.
And then controversy.
Yeah, what happened?
A technical foul on Springs Alley in the final seconds. Give Loogootee the win.
Oh, man. Heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking, but in a way, it just adds to the legend, right?
Yeah. I mean, he went toe-to-toe with the best. Proved he belonged on that court.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Despite the incredible season, the buzz, the dominance,
Yeah.
Larry's left off the Indiana All-State team.
No way. You're kidding me?
Can you believe that?
I mean, I know it was a different time, but still. The kid was a star.
And this is where Jerry Burge really steps up. He goes on a one-man crusade, basically, writing article after article in the Jasper Herald, demanding that they put Larry on that team.
Good for him. Someone had to say something.
And thankfully it worked. Public outcry, all the support, it's impossible to ignore.
They had to put him on the team.
Larry gets added to the All-State team. Finally gets the recognition he deserves. So now I've got this All-State player, a bona fide high school legend. You'd think the next step is obvious, right?
Well, you know, the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star game is coming up. The best players from each state going head-to-head. A real showcase.
Perfect opportunity to make a name for himself on a bigger stage.
And he does, sort of. The first game, Laurie's brilliant. No surprise there.
But the second game, that's where things get a little dicey.
Yeah, there's some friction there with the Indiana coach.
Sounds familiar, right? Even back then, he wasn't afraid to butt heads with authority if he had to.
Oh, he had that independent streak for sure. Always marched to the beat of his own drummer. Part of what made him great, I guess, but probably didn't with him any friends on the coaching staff. So high school's over. The legend of Larry Bird is already starting to spread. But like you said, there are a few bumps in the road before Indiana State. Right, and in the Indiana University, and that's a whole other story. Yeah, it doesn't really work out. And he ends up back in French Lick.
Wow. Can you imagine that? All that talent, all that promise.
And suddenly you're back where you started. Must have been tough.
And then to make matters worse,
yeah,
his father passes away.
Yeah, a real tragedy.
I can't imagine what that must have been like for him. Talk about a difficult time.
You know, it's a testament to his character. He couldn't have easily given up on basketball, right?
Right.
But he didn't.
Instead, he goes to Indiana State. Not exactly the obvious choice after Indiana University.
Sometimes the path to greatness isn't a straight line, you know?
And I think that's what's so fascinating about these high school years. You see how close it all came to never happening.
Right.
Like he could have easily slipped through the crack.
Absolutely. It makes you think, right?
How many other Larry Birds are out there? Kids with just as much talent, just as much heart.
But they don't get that lucky break. Don't have that one coach or that one sports writer who believes in them.
It's a good reminder to keep our eyes open. You never know where you might find the next Larry legend.